let's get into the meat and potatoes of the topic of a competitive
Yeah,
games.
you want to dive into it? You want to
Yeah,
delve into
we're
it?
gonna dive into we can dive into something else if you want later. but
Hey yo.
but
Blah, blah, blah,
I want to do it more by
blah.
my headphones here. Let me. But yeah, so for like competitive games, I think it's starting with like the personal experience. Is what's really funny about it is seeing friends and seeing myself with my own like experience with competitive games. I've noticed that it's a consuming thing for some people. I think for context, I have a friend who's challenger in League of Legends, and to say he has no bitches is an understatement. Like,
Coming out raw and fast and furious. I
like
hate this guy. He's
yeah,
a bitch.
I just I'm being a little bit facetious, but like a lot of it is the way he dedicates himself to the game is a crazy amount, which I think which is really weird because you don't have to be no lifing a video game. Well, you do have to some level be no lifing a video game to get there. But one of my other friends, in Rocket League, he's almost SSL. Um, is this guy still in school, bro? I don't think we know. I don't think we know if this fellow is still in school. Um, but in this sort of kind of like looking at it, like the person who's in Grand Champ, Grand Masters, whatever in Rocket League, basically almost supersonic legend. He has way more social nature to him. He's still going to school. He's still active in those sort of sense, but he also hasn't hit SSL. He hasn't hit the cream of the crop when it comes to ranked. Um, I think that I talked to him a little bit about it. I think that there's some level of like him not wanting to actually know life it to get there, but in that sort of circumstance, the way I kind of see it is that like there is an ability to get outside of that, but kind of talking about I guess the different personalities is people's personality when going into it. I see a lot of people who are very dedicated to getting high level in ranked in these games. They tend to have um, an upset personality when they're playing the rank. They might be more relaxed when just talking casually friend wise. One of them definitely isn't the challenger, a little bit less so. But I'd say the fellow that in Rocket League I think he streams. His name is Stoic on stream. So Stoic Muffin. He's a very chill guy. I've not really seen him really rage, but other people I've noticed. Maybe it's just a league thing. Maybe no, it's not just a league thing.
League
But
does things to people, but
it really does things to people. It either makes or breaks a person. You either become the Vel'Koz main that says never give up. I forget his name, or you become
Zop.
yeah, or you become a would Tyler one. Um,
Tyler Wong, Kesha.
yeah, there's just a lot of people who just kind of get that level where it's like they get super upset. But I kind of just see it as a semblance of just like it's the want to get good without the being able to kind of differentiate their emotions. And so with a couple of people where it's like some people are not willing to play with you because like, oh, you're too low rank, you're too whatever. As you're playing like true moment. But some of these people are not willing to separate and calm themselves down, which it might be a part of why they get good at the game. Some people maybe are a little different. Like it also just depends on how people grow. Again, Stoic, what a chill guy. What a chill fella. He literally I think he definitely embodies the feeling of being Stoic when it comes to a lot of the friend things, like when we hang out, whatever. But when it comes to the way that he got good, I never really noticed him being like obviously like when you play a game and we dedicate your emotions to it, you're gonna get a little bit upset, which I think is a very fine thing to happen. I don't see him being somebody who is very hurt in comparison to other people. He's not trying to rage his teammates on purpose. He's a very kind and understanding fellow. But when it comes to some of these other people, it's like I've noticed they're a little bit more would it be not crude or crass? It might be. I don't remember the exact word. When it comes to like people not being good at league, um,
Critical?
yeah, they're a little more critical of their teammates, and it shows in a very sometimes demeaning way. It just depends on the person. but
I've never
it doesn't
called
show crazy.
somebody dog shit at League of Legends,
I've never done
but
that. Never talked dog.
we're not talking about me.
We're not talking about me. No, the real, I don't know. I would say that like there's just more people who are just a little bit more dedicated to it, but kind of like stepping away from that like emotion sense. Do you want to make a comment first about the emotion thing?
So, I mean, emotionally speaking, I believe you had said that there are people who reach these upper echelons that have something wrong with them that enables them to get higher.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I've seen that in different ways, but I've also seen some people get better. I've seen
Hmm.
Tyler one have a daughter. You know,
Hmm.
there's people all across the board that are just like getting older, and it's like, okay, I have boomer hands. I need to segue into the next step of life. How do I do that?
Yeah. How do I
Um,
evolve from what I am?
right. Because they hit their peak. Like Tyler one went to every region and hit Chow in every role. Maybe not every region, but I know he's hit Chow in every role.
Yeah.
Um, and if I'm not mistaken, he's the first one to do that. Um, like
I think.
specifically playing accounts,
Hmm.
one role at a time, getting to challenger. So like he proved that he was statistically one of the one of the best League of Legends players of all time.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was reading a comment, but yeah, it's like it. It's weird because I think what's hard about Tyler One is that a lot of because he's a streamer, him raging became part of his content, and so it's weird to see that, like if we take people who don't stream, which is kind of a good thing to talk about is that like I think we do still see it. People still break their like people who or people who stream but are smaller content creators. Sometimes we see them rage. Sometimes we see them like and they're just not as funny. They're just not as popular. Their rage like actually is like concerning or like unhelpful.
Breaking keyboards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder broken monitor. I wonder but but kind of going back into it, it's like that sort of rage, and the reason why I think it gets some people to be better is because they're so upset about the person, they're going to get better at spite, or they're going to play more because they're going to get better at spite. Like the emotions towards the game being negative is not a negative for themselves. They're not. It doesn't hurt their ability to come back to the game. It just makes them more engaged. Um, but I think what separates me was like when I would get upset in that sort of way, I just didn't like the game and I would just separate myself. But I've also separated myself from a lot of these competitive games for a vastly different group of reasons. But mainly taking too long, also me just anhedonic, lose like sense of just joy out of everything, and so it's hard to like play games that you're supposed to be consistent playing, and then you don't come back to it. But
Right.
um,
Games that require you to ride the bicycle.
yeah, but yeah, it's not a. I wouldn't say it's a fully bad thing to rage at games. I would say that if it infects your life, which way some people will, it'll infect the way that they treat other people, or the way that they treat people infects their game playing, so they're willing to be rude or mean to other people is just because the fact that they are um in video games just because that's the way they are in real life, but um. I, I think I've kind of talked about this topic to the point where this part of the topic specifically. But you have any more comments?
Um, well, I think that it's worth taking. So you mentioned that the rage itself
Mhm.
is not an intrinsically bad component. When you say that, are you looking at it from the player's experience that anger is not harmful to themselves, or that it's not. What I guess, what do you mean when you say that's not bad?
So I would say like if we look at the root of where some of the rage, and because again some rage can be bad, some rage can be good, but if we look at the root, and this is where a lot of it comes from, is the emotional dedication to a game. So sometimes I remember, so this kind of goes into my own experience when I played Halo, and I played ranked. I remember this it doesn't leave me. It's been like 3 years, and this guy being so upset about the fact that I wasn't playing to his playstyle. He was somebody who rush in. I was somebody who liked to take picks. I'm like, hey, I'm not like hey, I'm playing keyboard mouse. That's great for headshotting. I don't have the confidence. I don't think I can walk into an open area and just be able to think just be able to like predict where people are going to be, and have the knowledge to where you're pointing that direction, I'm going to point a different direction to where somebody's going to be. And so, but in that sort of sense, he was getting very, very upset. Um, in that sort of sense. So his upset nature was like he was clearly seeing somebody who wasn't. I wasn't bad at the game. I definitely could kill and I get decent amount of kills. I just was not playing up to his expectations, which he probably was. So like I didn't rank up to the highest rank I could probably get in Halo. I just kind of stopped playing. But his rage was coming from he wasn't too upset, but he was definitely insulting me, and you could tell that there was a little bit of that rage there, which is really weird because it infected me to where like I was getting upset because like the problem that I was having was the emotions there being like I'm trying my best and I see what you're doing as you're throwing the game. Both of our perspectives could be correct. Both of our perspectives could be incorrect. Maybe one person is more correct than the other person. We don't really know. Um, you're not like I forget the highest rank Onyx or whatever in not Onyx whatever the highest rank is in Halo. You're not the highest rank. You're not in a professional like place. You just know that your playstyle can work effective. And the thing is, I know my playstyle can work effective. We're both in the same rank. We're both progressing around the same speed. We both can see that progression. There is some level of equal opinion that we have when it comes to not knowing the truth. So it's stupid to bring Schrodinger's cat because that's a physics thing, but when it comes to a philosophical thing, it is Schrodinger's cat because neither of us are high enough knowledge to know the proper way of getting things done. We can only play to our strengths and assume the understanding we can give towards what we might think it is. So we're both incorrect and correct at the same exact time. And so the problem is, I think this is what I've noticed is this is why I try to like not rage in video games is to let it go, saying like, hey, he knows his way of playing works. Maybe it works against a certain group of people. Maybe my way works against another group of people. Maybe it's just not the playset for who we're going against. Maybe the other people are too aggressive for my playstyle, or maybe they're too aggressive for his place. I don't really know. I haven't played in a while, so I wouldn't really be able to look at the situation and understand who is in the wrong, who is in the right. Again, because we're the same rank. If I understood, I'd probably be high rank. But in that sort of circumstance, that rage kind of comes from a for his came from just sense of just wanting to, like to do well. Some of it also anger. Like some people are a bit more sensitive to anger, which again is not a bad thing. Being sensitive to emotion isn't a bad thing. It's just like what it leads your actions to do is when it becomes the problem. So when people like the person who's challenger in the friend group, he sometimes will run it down, and sometimes, as in quite often, when he's not doing well, he will run it down, and he'll blame the other players on his team, and it's hard to see that when it's like it's you aren't fully incorrect. He's like he's definitely knowledgeable of the game, but the thing is that just because you are incorrect in your assumptions, maybe they're not playing as well, does not mean that you should degrade your playing. But that's also like an emotional control thing. I think that if he learned to be more emotionally controlled, I think he would like he's already again challenged. He's already at the peak of gameplay. I think that if you learn to calm his mind and be able to kind of like what is it, Bruce Lee, like flow like water. So in the flow state where sure your teammates might be throwing, but that doesn't mean you lose the game. As long as you can play as optimally as possible, maybe you get a comeback. Maybe the enemy team throws. It happens all the time. And so like that's how like you like that's one of the easiest ways to rank up is that is that like if you're able to play the game, do as well as possible. But hey, if like one of the more consistent ways of ranking up, and this is theoretical, not necessarily specific. It's not like I have this experience, but if you're able to be as consistent as possible, be like, okay, I didn't do well, landing phase, or I didn't do well at the beginning phase, or whatever. I can move into this transition into being as consistent. So I don't try to feed kills. I try to maintain my position. I try to get good vision. I try to assist my teammates where I can, and I think
Mhm.
that will allow you to rank up a bit quicker than like because he would go from grandmaster to like a diamond because of how much he would rage.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Yeah.
Yeah. He would kind of go like he's still staying at challenger, but he would go from these different positions. And when you kind of see someone go down and up like that, you can tell part of it's the mentality is like if he can stay consistent, if he could calm himself and say, "All right, just go back to the fundamentals, go back to doing what I know what to do," or things like that. It'd be a different like I think it'd be different. Again, I could be wrong. I'm not at his level of gameplay. I'm just kind of assuming from my observations of some of my.
I mean, it's something that we can absolutely see in players in our local groups,
Mhm,
in the play groups that we frequent, where there are people who swing. It's the swing, right? It's that range of how much can I control myself, and the second that I lose control, I also lose my emotional control, which further endangers my keystrokes and my mouse placement.
mhm.
So, uh, sometimes just lacking a self-soothing mechanism while in these manufactured stress scenarios, um, just really shows where you can still be a skilled player, but like you said, if you cannot maintain the composure,
Mhm.
the form, you're gonna lose the plot.
Yeah, you start to fumble in that sort of like way where it's like I've also kind of going more into that. I've noticed that when people start when they like how you said, I think it's a great one. When you start losing control, like the agency, when you start you losing agency, it's hard because like you notice that like my jungler could have ganked me. Like if you're top or mid, like my jungler could have ganked me, or my support Sirach could have pressed R, even though like maybe
Speaking
they're
about League, yeah.
yeah like in these sort of situations, it's difficult because, um, like they start to lose their agency and they start to flame their teammates, which then doesn't help. But even without the flaming the teammates part, it's they start to give up their ability to try to stay consistent, and which is I'm gonna hate doing this because I do this way too much. But it kind of gets into how much agency do you really have over every like every moment, and so building a ability to be consistent is an important thing. So a lot of like people like one of my friends he would say he's like, I know what I need to do, I just don't do it. Which is kind of a very funny thing. He's like, I know we should free the ways here, but I'm just gonna not do it. And then he's like, I know I shouldn't dive under tower, but he just does it. He just continues to do it. But in that sort of way,
Such is the tragedy of man. I
yeah.
do not know why I do the things I do, said the Apostle Paul.
I guess it was. I have not read the Bible in so long. I did not. I would have not remembered that. But
It's it's a very common
I
human
was
experience
yeah.
that you can just latch onto.
Yeah, in that sort of way, yeah. It's like you don't like I forget. It's really weird because I do remember the part of the Bible where it's talking about how like kind of like where sinning it kind of like the pastor like segregated. It might have been Paul who said, "I do not want to do what I am doing." So when you're sinning and when you go to heaven, it isn't about all of a sudden becoming the perfect person. It is about trying to transition, not trying to stay in the sin. It's about transitioning into outside that sin. And so like demonizing your sin allows you to start to transition outside of that. So saying that I don't like doing, let's say someone like gluttony, stealing, or whatever. I don't like doing these things, and so it allows you to try to transition the way you have your mindset. But it's not too important. I probably is Paul, but when I kind of think about in the action of the game, there's a lot of things that are happening in the game that you can't be aware of. So this is kind of like in chess. Like the why do AI in
Hmm.
chess do so well? It's because they can see every single move that's possible. Because like when you can see every move that is theoretically possible, both on your end and the enemy's end, and you can play out the game faster than a human can. And like if a human were to look at every single chess piece and look at the board state and be able to try to like do that, calculate everything, it'd take them way too long and way too much mental effort. It would be okay. This pawn can move here. This knight can move here. If this knight moves here, then 3 moves from now can this happen. But then like whatever, like there is not a like possible way for us to do that. And so we have to rely on instinct. And so it's funny when you look at a lot of gamers kind of talk about like when they get good at games, it's like I just did it out of instinct. And so it's building the instinct is what's important. But a lot of these people, what they do is when they rage, they lose that sense of the instinct. They just get upset. They lose their sense of agency, which is a really big one. So which is really weird. So when we look at like people with a external locus of control, so their life is controlled by the outside circumstances, when they believe themselves to have an external locus of control, so they don't control their lives, they tend to seemingly, out of our best way to explain it, is have less control. While if you have an internal locus control, assuming you do have control, you seem to have more control. But that could be a chicken and the egg. That could be the fact that like if you align yourself with what you want instead of aligning yourself with like or align yourself with what you can do as what you want. So if so this is kind of a funny kind of a thing I've been telling myself because I've been getting the quote wrong. So you know the whole daddy gets what daddy wants. I've been kind of saying it wrong. I've said daddy wants what daddy gets. And which is again a stupid thing, but if we think about it, it's oddly profound because like if if you want to be completely successful, want everything is coming your way. Do you want to be successful? Then wanting like if you're bad at a game, oh, because I think about people do this all the time, where someone's bad at the game, oh, I was just throwing. Oh, I was just messing around, or I was drunk, or I was doing these other things. And so it's like they are literally signing themselves up to get what they want, which is not to say a good thing to do, but if you want to get everything you ever want, is you want everything that comes your way. And so good or bad. And so if it's not to say a good mentality to have, but it's a mentality that people assume. But when it comes to, let's say, if they're doing bad, like, oh, I actually was throwing this whole time. They're mostly when they're lying to themselves. So it's not really true what they like. They don't truly get what they want. But in a sort of circumstance, kind of going back to like the League of Legends playing, or even just like in general, just like ranked play or professional play, at a certain point in time, if you believe that it's your teammates' fault, that you've lost your agency from there, you're going to lose more agency. You're going to feel more in the passenger seat of the car. And whether or not scientifically that is correct or incorrect, whether or not you actually are, like, because, like, again, current science, we can kind of assume that it is, that we kind of look at it being like current theory, no free will. For some specific science, so like the paper on being like you can predict someone's action 11 seconds before. This was a pretty recent one. It might have been 2018 for the study. I don't exactly remember. Studies have been going back to, I believe, 80s or 90s for that one. But in studies and restudies of it, so people trying to reprove it or disprove it, whatever. But in that sort of sense, like it's not like the most foundational evidence. If it was, and then we would all be like, "There's no free will." But like, it's enough to show us to indicate that us that like there is less free will than we assume to have. But in that sort of sense, like if you assume that you have less agency, though, like even though you might have zero agency, you might never control a single ounce of action you do in your life. But potentially the assumption that like you do might give you more ability, might make it where your actions align with more of your wants. And so, because like again, if we take outside the agency, it's like your actions might align with more what you want if you assume you have agency. But which wouldn't mean you do have agency, it just means your actions align with what you want to, like with what you want or what you. But that also aligns with like wanting being like some people like want some things, but it doesn't mean that they are going to um admit that. So some people will get themselves in a very negative situation, and they will feed into it because they want this. Like in the heart of hearts, they want it. So some people who have low self esteem, they'll sometimes put themselves in certain positions to where people will affirm that low self esteem. It doesn't happen all the time, but they do it because they want it subconsciously. Because the thing is that like if someone says you're good looking or you're smart, or whatever, and what if that person's lying to you? But if someone tells you
Harsh.
what you already feel, what's up?
I'm smart.
Yeah, you, you are smart, big brain, but in that sort of position, a lot of people are wanting to get a negative validation feedback of like, hey, this happens a lot of time with a lot of people. Sometimes they're like, they're so like when it comes to people with it would it be anxious attachment or avoidant attachment would be probably the best one to look at. Where sometimes, and if we look at people who are more intense, they'll look at the situation being like, oh, I want to connect to this person, but maybe some of the fears I have leads me to push them away. Um, and so because they're afraid of certain things, and so they want to push people away. It's not like so they don't want to push people away on their emotional side that it hurts them, but they want to push people away on a subconscious level because it protects them from being hurt even more. Even though they're hurting themselves, maybe it hurts them less, maybe it hurts them more. They feel more afraid of getting too connected and then getting hurt. Whether or not it will actually hurt them more or not, is not the important thing. It's about the fact that they're more afraid of what they don't have or what might happen versus what they can control. So if you get somebody to hate you and stop being friends with you, stop dating you, stop doing whatever, stop engaging with you. If you can get somebody to do that, then it's not my like if I purposely do things, it's not my fault. Um, there was a when I was in eighth grade. It reminds me of this kid very specifically. As soon as I saw him, as soon as I interacted with him, I kind of knew. So I was in choir, and the sixth grader, the choir was just kind of the class you just do so you can just get a grade, and the sixth grader
Mhm.
was kind of in there, and oh, there's one sixth grader who's in there, and she was kind of talking bad about this, a fellow sixth grader, and I was kind of thinking to myself like, oh, it's not too nice, and then you meet him, and I wouldn't say that like he was bullied, but definitely he was pushing as many buttons to be as annoying as possible. It wasn't just I'm genuine. I'm being genuine, and people don't like me being genuine. That happens to people. Sometimes people don't like sometimes being cringe happens. Sometimes like when I was in middle school, I was cringe. I was just like didn't understand just straight up autism. Didn't get it. Him, you felt this just urge to be more annoying so that he wouldn't be judged. I could be wrong in the situation, but like just the way he expressed himself in an annoying way. But I will say it's hard because like I hope he's doing well now. I hope that it has not led his life into becoming more sad and disconnected from people because trying to get people to move away from you because of the fact that you're afraid of like people learning who you are is scary. Um like it's just gonna make more people move away from you and you're not gonna be able to learn how to be you're not gonna learn that sometimes people are not gonna like you. Like you can optimize, you can sacrifice. It's funny because I'm getting really off topic, but I'm going to continue off this for a second. But sometimes you can sacrifice parts of yourself that are okay. So sometimes in certain circumstances, I'm yapping. I've been yapping for like 45 minutes, almost straight. Like there's been almost no time for me to breathe. But when it comes to different circumstances, I still do this. I'm so bad at it, but there's some level of like, okay, maybe I should shut up. Maybe I should move back. I'm still bad at it, but there's some level of like, if I want to improve, kind of the quality of a conversation with some people, I might want to step back and let other people talk, or even let some silence because like people enjoy sometimes having background noise, but sometimes like some silence might be nice of like, hey, I'm playing a game or doing whatever, let me focus, whatever. But like there's some sacrifice that you can give towards a situation, and it's like I'm not going to sacrifice completely not speaking out. I'm not going to be like all right because my friends or people I talk to don't like how much I talk. I'm just going to not talk at all. Um, I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit of that kind of like a little bit of like okay, I'll talk a little bit less. And so I hope that like he has learned to like realize that like hey some part of your personality people are not gonna like so figure out what you're willing to sacrifice what is okay for you to sacrifice like some people are so desperate for friends they're gonna sacrifice everything money um whatever just so that they maintain friends
Money, time,
money
bandwidth.
time
So I actually have a lot to say about that.
yeah
If you give me just a few minutes.
you go on
Like
yep
having been a part of several different esports organizations and entertainment organizations, between Geeks Under Grace, CrossForge, my own personal brand. Um, it's very interesting to see how those borders get tested by various people.
Hmm.
Those borders and boundaries to the point where some people are social chameleons to the point where they don't know those personal lines for themselves, and
Hmm.
when they don't set those boundaries up, we see people get kind of isolated in different ways, almost like textbook abuser
Hmm.
behavior or cult behavior, where people get isolated and they morph into the in group, whatever that in group looks like with its values and how they treat people. And things happen, politics change, relationships change, and all of a sudden, there are some people that are left with a vacuum of who am I, because they never did the groundwork. They were, just like you said, they were giving up all of their boundaries to maintain maintain human connection that they
Hmm.
wouldn't otherwise have.
They're busy
Uh,
acquiescing to fit in, or to be they're busy doing that. And like I do see what you're talking about, where like that sacrifice leads to the point of where like now if they're left with nothing, it's like, well, I gave everything to this. Who am I now? Yeah.
right, and that's a scary place to be. I personally have, I like in my personal life, I have gone through a metamorphosis over the last 6 years, really digging into various philosophies and sitting down with myself and saying, "Hey, I was raised this way. I believe this, but there's some parts of what I believe that is not reconciled with other parts of what I believe and how I functionally live my life."
Hmm.
And so, that and with other little bits and pieces has been very dramatic.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
when you said, people lose their boundaries and lose their agency in some of these ways, it is important to let people breathe, to take a step back and be like, all right, listen, I haven't heard from this guy for a month. Okay. I just drop him a line, let him know that I am still thinking about him. I do care, about the personal growth and what's happening in my friends' lives. But it's also important to take that step back and allow them to make their choices.
Hmm.
I've got a good buddy that lives out in Seattle who is um, trying to get back in the saddle after some time of not being in a relationship, and he keeps trying to talk to people, and it's like, okay, you're talking, you're doing a whole lot of talking, but you're not creating an environment for other people to interact, invest, and grow themselves. It's almost like looking out at my backyard right now, how thistles and different weeds will take over a space, right?
Hmm.
Sometimes if there's not a gardener in a play group or a friend group, some people will come into your life like a weed and kind of take out all that extra space that you could grow into, um
Yeah.
and just kind of like take up those resources.
Yeah.
um
It's also not giving this room to grow as well. Um, like this is kind of a really weird idea that I don't know how true it is, but there's probably some truth to it. Is there so in a lot of friend groups sometimes there is the guy you bully. I think in guy friend groups is kind of the way kind of that way, and it's
the guy
usually
friend group, it's almost a monolithic experience
mhm.
of there is one guy who will always get shit on, kicked down. um that's it's me. I Of
um,
course I know him. He's me.
yeah, of course I know. Looks in the mirror. It's me. But it's really weird because like sometimes like because some people will push that to the boundaries, and oftentimes like having somebody to be a punching bag in a can be a positive thing where it's just more of like it's just a joke. As long as we all assume and treat it as a joke, and as long as we make sure, hey, are you okay with this? Like it's fun to make these jokes. It's fun to like kind of like do this, but as long as we're not like kind of like pushing you to those boundaries. And I think one of my friends, it was funny in high school. Uh, he's my really good friend, and it's just really good because he was that person, and so we still kind of like treat him in that sort of way. And there's times where he's gone a bit more. Um, I want to use the words from the stream as peeved. He's gone a little more annoyed with some of the jokes, and it's like I think it's perfectly fine. I think it gives us this ability to say, okay, we're gonna back off from maybe the style of jokes or maybe as much because like we don't want to kind of put you in that position. But what it happens a lot is a lot of groups might end up pushing the kind of the punching bag to where they don't get to grow themselves. So it's like maybe it's like we they don't let them form their own identity in the friend group. And so I think that like we've done that with our friend. We haven't done that. Or we've done well to avoid that, I should say. We're trying to make sure that like he's not just like a kicking bag and just like all right, you don't get to form your own identity. You're just the kicking bag, or just the punching bag, the kicking bag. Uh,
I mean, you
um,
can kick it too, but
you
like
can, but
ask politely. That might be overstepping its boundaries.
I mean, you can kick me, but
I'll
um,
kiss you. Keep it up.
I mean. Like with tongue
Try
or
it.
without tongue.
Yeah, my wife would probably be pissed if there was tongue.
But
She's already pissed that I kissed Scum. No, I'm not even joking. This was a real thing that happened. We had a meetup in 2025 for my 31st birthday,
mhm.
and we were both like standing there looking at each other like, move, move, nerd. No, you move, idiot. You keep it up. I'ma kiss you. I said, do it. You won't. And then he just fucking went. He was just waiting for permission. He went, mwah, big smooch. And I was like, oh, you wouldn't do it again. Oh, I can't believe this.
It's
He
funny
did it
because
twice. I can't
uh,
believe this.
it's
That's
funny because I
bad.
do I probably do the same thing. Like I told him I'm not gonna back down. I'm not gonna back down. If you don't back away, I don't back away. I'm just warning you before this happens because I will not back away. We end up
Mama
kissing.
didn't raise a quitter.
Exactly. Um, or somebody who's straight apparently. But
uh,
but um, yeah. So in that sort of circumstance. Like I think giving the ability to people to grow, so it's kind of like it's kind of like an enzyme. Like if you don't have enzymes in the body, some reactions might take a while for them to happen, or sometimes they won't happen unless you have that enzyme uh, uh, catalyzing the said reaction. And so when it comes to a lot of people's personalities, it's sometimes like some people some people are going into the situation more freeform, where they're just like they don't really know their own boundaries. They don't have their own solid version of themselves just yet. And so they just kind of go into interactions and deal with people, and they're just like, okay. While other people who don't who still have those boundaries who are willing to push them, and so it's different for some people. So if you don't have those boundaries yet, if you don't know how you want to live your life or how you want to interact with people yet, being able to give that person space so that like they can grow, or being an enzyme, so being able to like, or themselves need to also involve an enzyme or involve a catalyst so themselves can grow. And so that catalyst could be taking time to see with yourself, or speaking to yourself, or therapy, whatever can be a catalyst so you can figure out your own boundaries. But it's just the way that I've noticed that some people will work in certain friend groups, and I think that like it's always good to allow that level of growth and ability. um, but some friend groups are more or less indicative of being able to allow that to happen. Some people in the friend group might be more, some people in the friend group might be less, but it's usually most groups who are like keeping people down usually doesn't have one person be like, wow, I really want to help this guy, and then everyone else like just kicks the shit out of them. Usually it's like those people already leave the friend group is what my guess, but
so thinking back to, we talked a little bit about your one of your least favorite uh competitive gaming experiences with Halo earlier.
hmm
Now, thinking about a more growth minded approach, what is one of your better, or rather more memorable competitive gaming experiences?
More positive and memorable. It happens and actually was really weird in both Halo and in Rocket League, which is really funny. And this was kind of like specifically in Rocket League was it was really weird because like I talked about the negative circumstance of like how like he made me upset, whereas like he was like getting mad at me for not doing the right thing. I was getting annoyed. I was like are you serious? Like are you not trying to understand where my perspectives, like if I'm not doing what you want me to do even after you ask, there's a reason. And so I got upset at that point in time, but it's actually really funny because we ended up playing 2 games together, and after that happened, I actually like in the second game I was like, hey, let me understand him. If he can't understand me, let me understand him. And I think that that was a positive experience because like Halo is very much a team game. You sure if you're Diamond or Onyx, you can solo plats as long as you're like you have good aim, you know what you're doing, good positioning, whatever. You can do that. But diamond versus like if you have a you can't solo 3 onyxes or 3 diamonds as an onyx in a lot of circumstances. It's not, you can't, because as long as those diamonds, and obviously if they're diamond, they know, hey, we need to gang up on this guy. 2v1s are very very difficult in Halo. Usually the way people win 2v1s is either they're going against people who are really bad, disorganized, or they're staggered enough to where it's I kill this guy, this other guy joined in too late, and then I was able to kill this other guy because whatever. But usually it doesn't happen like that. Usually you have to stagger them to where like when I've gotten a overkill in Halo, it was because of the fact that it was I was staggering them. I was keeping my position, staggering them. But kind of going into why some of the negative experience was also positive was when I started playing Rocky League, because there's a mentality of I want to be good at something. I have that like classic autism mindset. Small side tangent. I don't want to get into for too long, or I'm going to waste a bunch of time. Which, you know, I've been here for like an hour yet, and I've already wasted a bunch of time. And thank you for bringing me back on topic. But in that sort of sense, like the autism mindset. I remember Dr. K talking about. I remember I was driving home from school, had my phone connected to the stereo of my car, and I was listening to Dr. K. He was like talking. I was like, sometimes people with this grind set are autistic, and I'm like, wow, maybe I'm like that because like I've had this sense of like Rocket League to like I want to get good. Why? Because I want to show that grind. I want to just like I wanted to do the effort, even though I didn't end up doing it very much. I did a little bit. Um, and at a certain point in time, I was getting that grind, so I was doing as much as possible. And one pro player named Flakes, he was like, play ones. And ones in Rocket League are infuriating because your failures you can't blame on your teammates. Like you go for a goal in the game, you miss the ball, they score. And it's like your failures are maximized to the highest level. That happens a lot in a lot of fighting games as well. But when I was playing ones, it was brutal because I would get upset. I would be like, "This is really annoying. This is pissing me off." And like, oftentimes in ones, a lot of times people will quit before they lose, and even if they have a chance of winning, they'll quit. This happened. This is kind of like why people rank up in such a weird way. Is I've played against this one guy who was a freestyler in Rocket League, and he was like doing a bunch of like air tricks, but at that point in time, I had practiced a lot of defense skills because I really loved defense. And this guy had the hardest time because he wasn't particularly good at the positioning and gaming and trying to get the ball past me. In that sort of like 1v1 skill, he was good at getting the ball for aerials and he can even air dribble. While I didn't have any close ability to air dribble. I didn't have the abilities to flick the way he did. I had the abilities to know that like he was overstepping his boundaries in ones. He shouldn't have been doing the things he'd been doing, and and he quit. I scored like 2, and he still had more. He I think had like 5 or whatever, and I still scored 2. And because I was able to get past him, he got upset and quit. He got mad. Like it was because of the fact that like he should have easily dominated me with his skill difference. He should have easily like when the fact that like he was doing aerial like air dribbles and the flicks he was doing, he should have absolutely dominated me more than he was. But because I was able to like hold my own a little bit, he got upset. But that kind of told me that like playing those ones kind of taught me to be slower. Just don't like rage. playing the Halo game, it's understanding that like raging doesn't help. When in ones you make more rash. It kind of goes back in the emotional things. You make more rash decisions. Like, oh, I made a dumb mistake. You basically do the same thing over. You're running it down, the same thing over and over and over again. So it's about like calming down. I think the next positive experience was how much I don't care. Um, about some of these ranked games. I remember playing a little bit of Rocket League, and one day I just was like, I don't care. Do I really want to get like higher? I ended up being almost diamond. I got to like high plat or whatever, maybe like middle plat. I don't really remember too well. And I was like, do I really care? Because the amount of time it takes is a lot of dedication. And I think that it taught me a lesson in find what you care about and understand it's gonna take dedication. And it's kind of like when it comes down to like Rocket League, I didn't care. Like it was a fun game for a time, but I really didn't care. I just wanted to grind for the sake of grinding. I wanted to get good for the sake of getting good. I did this in Brawlhalla, I did this in Halo, I did this in League of Legends. I've done this in so many different games, and every single time I've learned like, do I really care about the game? Like I don't care about getting good, and I think that's what led me to where I find things I actually do care about. Like Japanese, I put like still I'm dog shit Japanese, but I still put in consistently more hours in like Japanese, and I feel more stable where I am in Japanese than any other um kind of like competitive game I've tried to do. So obviously Japanese is not a competitive game, but like I feel that even though I haven't progressed, I don't because again there's not a ranking system. It's not like I can see oh I'm above average, I'm plat or I'm emerald. There's not a ranking system I get to see. I don't get to see oh actually I'm doing better than I really am. It's all based on personal experience, and so I don't get to gloat. And so because again I can't really speak or understand. It's like it's a very low level, but like I could be higher than I really assume. But even then, I still feel very happy with where I am. Same thing happens with a lot of my other things I've enjoyed. Some of my own personal things, working out. I'm not super like I would say I work casually. I just been working out for years, and so even me working out casually for years gives me an advantage. I do have a little bit of genetic advantage, probably my catabolism is very high. So when I catabolize the food, I'm not going to get heavy. It's an advantage, disadvantage. So when it comes down to it, like it's harder for me to bulk, but it is easier for me to stay skinny. So like I have that advantage. But in sort of sense, like I casually do it. I feel like I'm in good position when it comes to my understanding of people. Like I wanted to understand people from a personal perspective because like I never in middle school never understood people. People didn't make any sense, and so I went on this journey to understand people. And do I think I'm the best of the best? No, I think I'm good. I'm enjoying even if I'm worse. Even if Dunning Kruger sticks his cock into my mouth and says, "Hey, you're actually like hey you're like Dunning and Kruger because it's two different people."
What the fuck?
Hey
You
man,
took a left field that I did not anticipate, sir.
like
What the hell?
Pushing my boundaries.
I could push something else.
Whoa!
um, but
He's gonna try and push my prostate.
but in random side tangent, do you know the prostate is not the male G spot? Um, or
You know,
supposedly isn't.
I'm sure some other of the various medical friends we have has tried to tell me that, but it's just funnier to keep repeating the same thing everybody else says.
Yeah, but
I am a sheep and I know this about me.
but kind of going back into like Dunning Kruger, like if they told me like, hey, you're dumb, you actually know a lot less than you think you do. I still think I would be happy with the idea that how far I've come. Because like I put the amount of effort, and this is kind of when I went into the amount of effort I put in, the amount of things I do is enjoyable because it's like, hey, maybe I am dog shit. Maybe I am like kind of like older sibling gives me the controller and I think I'm doing better than I am. Hey, but at least I put the effort into just like to try to get better. It still sucks to know that like, hey, nothing you've done gets you to where you want to be, but I still think that like, hey, I at least put effort in. I at least had fun with the effort. Kind of. Some wasn't so fun. Some
Yeah.
was actually fun. Don't look at this 2 liter of Dr. K. I just took a sip of.
That's bold and brash.
Dude, I love 2 liters, man. Great. My nose is so
Could at
runny.
least pour it into another cup. Like, what if I wanted to drink that? What if?
I can spit in your mouth. Um,
Gross.
okay, real thing that happened, and it was recent technically, was there was not enough cups. There just wasn't enough cups. And one of my friends, he was like, "I'm gonna drink some," and I said, "Hey, you know what? Go ahead, but at least spit into my mouth." He did.
Wow. Did you like it?
Yeah,
Was it good for you?
it was amazing.
Was
Disgusting.
it as good for you as it was for him?
You know, I'm not too sure. I don't know. It's great decision
I don't
making
think it's
skills.
worth asking.
Yeah, you know, I will say I do know why people are why people think that like maybe even in your 20s you shouldn't have opinions because like it's fucking stupid. But like man, I dumb action, but great. You know what? I would not trade that experience for anything else because of how funny. I you know me. I'll say I do it for the bit, but maybe I didn't.
He does. I do it for the bit. He does it for the love of the game.
I do it for the love of the sport. I kiss men for the love of the sport. But
I kiss man because that's my wife. We are not the same.
we are not the same. Um, but yeah, so it's yeah, I lost wherever I was going.
So you talked about how you have kind of shied away from a lot of competitive games,
Hmm.
and you've been focusing on honing other talents. You're working on content creation,
Hmm.
clipping, video editing, Japanese. Uh, Do you think that you'll ever run back on some of the things that you've tried before and give them a second go around? What criteria do you use to sort those out as to what's worth engaging and spending that time, since it's so fleeting from us?
Yeah, it's actually a really interesting one because like I've like at this moment, and I could change my mind. At this moment, I wouldn't come back to a video game to get better. When it comes to ranked. I don't think I would ever kind of step back on the league and just, you know, be like, all right, let's dust off the old QWSD or whatever, QWER or whatever, just so I could play league. Let me get good at the game. Like I'll play it, but I don't think I'm ever gonna try to, grind the way. Like it's really fun because I didn't dedicate myself as much, in league as much as I did other games, which is kind of funny. But I think that when it comes to other things, I've definitely given up on some things and then kind of come back to it. Japanese was for a time, it's like, this is hopeless. I'm going nowhere. Um, I know nothing. But even now, I'm still not grinding as much as I want to. But I still like, hey, I'm going to go watch anime without subtitles. I'm going to watch Japanese YouTube videos without subtitles because, like, hey, you know, even though it's a drop in the bucket. It is less of a drop in the bucket. It is a drop in the an Olympic sized pool of ability where it's like it will mean nothing if I don't continue on. But and currently it means nothing. But because of the fact that it's the heart I put into it, it's like, hey, you know what? It means nothing. Dedicated to it because I like Japanese. Um, I'm willing to come back to things like that. I realized that video games, like games I'm willing to come back to get good at, are not competitive games, which is actually really funny. I think the one game like Deep Rock Galactic is just like it's such a different game for PvE games or even what is it? It's Helldivers, is that like they're both like not say like you can get good at both of those games, and they kind of mean different things. I really don't like PvP style games, mainly because I'm usually worse, and so like if I show that I'm bad, then it makes me feel bad. But it's also a bunch of other reasons, but that's a big one. Um, but Deep Rock Galactic, it's like they added Hazard 5 Plus. You can add different things for Hazard 5. I mainly play Hazard 4. Hazard 5 has been a bit more. I played Hazard 3 for a while and then started playing Hazard 4 because I got too used to Hazard 3. And so it's like if I can come back to it, be like, oh, let's grind, let's get good. It's like I would love to be able because the flow state of when you get in that game, and I remember this one like like run I did, I guess. We were, I think, his group of us with his group of randos, um, and we were running out of ammo. It was a dreadnought mission, and like dreadnought missions are bosses, two bosses. Usually fight two bosses, I believe, and we ran out of ammo. And so it became this cat and mouse game of one guy would get downed, we got to revive that guy, we got to run, we got to make this, we got to be moving as much as possible so that we don't like both like too many people die at once. And so at a certain point in time, I was able to like get one guy up and just search for the nitra for getting more ammo. So you had to get the resource nitra to then call down a ammo supply. And I remember doing that, and we won. And it felt so crazy because it was like it wasn't like even some people were putting more effort. Some people were better at the game than other people, but like it didn't matter because it wasn't if we lost, like there's times I've lost and had that flow state, it was so fun. But in that sort of situation, it was like we, no matter how good or bad we were doing, we were almost like a dwarf brotherhood. It was rock and stone, like if you don't rock and stone, you don't come home, and it really felt like that. Whereas like we're just in the flow state of just difficulty, and so I think it's fun to like play games like that. But I don't think I would ever get myself back into video games. I think that like I think that part of the problem with that is um, I've been trying to get the usefulness of hobbies. When I played League of Legends, there was a time where I wanted to get good at League of Legends so I could become a League of Legends streamer so I can get money from that, whatever. There was a time, like, it reminds me when I started to draw, I wanted to get good at drawing so I could work for the job. A lot of what I'm doing is kind of job security, and it makes me hate what I do for sometimes. And so like um while doing some things for job security or like or not even it's not even job secure but doing things to maybe have a job out of it isn't a bad thing. It just I don't want to do it for video games. I do not want to do it for video games. I'm willing to do it for some things. I think it's also finding a balance. I think that I overstress myself to do this. Like when I was doing art, I was doing an art Discord server and I dedicated myself to doing figure practices because he was Ethan Becker. He's a YouTuber and he was an animator. I haven't seen his content recently, but like he talked about like kind of like having to get good and do these other things, and like a lot of YouTube beforehand would talk about like how to get good, how to get good at art, and they would not give you the fundamentals to get good. They'd give you these proxy ideas of like, the way you draw this is this way, and they'd give you general ideas, not necessarily like fundamentals. The fundamentals are really important. And so Ethan Becker was that breath of fresh air where he gave me that fundamentals. And I was like, oh, this makes so much sense. And so part of the passion of getting of wanting to get good, the autism grinds of wanting to get good, seeped into the fact that I'm afraid of like being a bum. I'm afraid of like not liking what I do and not being able to do anything. And so it became a like I must get good at drawing. And so I would sit there for a couple weeks just doing figure practices, and I did to the point where I stopped drawing for fun. I like it was weird because like years later I finally drew for fun instead of just figure practices because every now and then I'd pick up do a figure practice. I never drew for fun. Years later I drew it for fun, which is I think it was like a year, no, 2 years ago now. 2 years ago I finally drew for fun. I'm like it was dog shit, absolutely, but was it fun? It was so much fun. The art looks better to me even though I know it's bad, I know it wasn't good, but it looks so much better to me because how much fun I had with it. And so it's hard because myself pushes these things away. But I'm just hoping to like not do that same thing for streaming, not do that same thing for other things that I want to do. But who knows?
So, so the commoditization of a hobby or a talent that you have brings particular stress to you. Is that right then?
Yeah, it's because like it's like where I know how useful I am in certain circumstances. When it comes to friends, circumstances, socially, I have I have a better ability to do certain things. I'm still not great in some areas, but I'm better in other areas that allow me to navigate conversations. When I practice my reflecting skills, even though I'm like obviously like I'm taking I'm taking the kind of the reins of this conversation, so I'm not really using those reflecting skills all that often. I still have that ability to do so, and it allows me to be useful in those conversations. But money wise, not really. Does it make me look better? Not really. Like I think what's hard about it is that when you get good at something and it doesn't make you look better, you're kind of like it's weird because like I'm okay with that, but there's some semblance of wanting to be acknowledged. Um, like when it comes down to working out, like I never worked out for another person. It was never because I want other people to look at me. It's never because it was like one day, my dad was like, he's pretty buff and he did that and I was like, oh, that seems pretty cool. And but the day I truly picked up weightlifting was I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna just lift weights, and like I grew. Like I went from like thinking I was like, I went from super skinny to like not. It's still pretty skinny, but not as skinny, and grew and I didn't even know. So I was like, whoa, I'm much bigger. Like I wasn't constantly looking in the mirror, but nowadays I still have this want to be acknowledged. There is that semblance of low self-esteem of wanting people to say, hey, you did put work in here. You're not um a lazy bastard. You're not a bum. You're not useless. You're somebody who has value. I always want to have somebody just observe that value. And part of that value aspect is what makes it hard, because like in some skills it's like I gain value, like I must look valuable in these certain areas, and so this is why I enjoy now doing some of the skills I do now, where it's like streaming is definitely more outward, and so it's harder for me to just do like have a more internal sense of value. There's some semblance I can get from there, but I've definitely noticed the more stress coming from the fact that like it is more external. But things like the bass, like I just practice it, and most like I'm not like all I'm doing is practicing, and it's fun practicing, not just like, oh, like practicing to get better, and I'm like the way I do with drawing, I'm just practicing ballad songs. Like it's cool to show off ballad songs. Like am I good at ballad songs? No, but like a lot of it's just like fun. Like, oh, cool, I hit a choker fan. Cool, I hit a um shortstop. I learned the shortstop kind of recently. I'm not consistent just yet, but like on the shortstop, I can um inconsistently do a choker fan, but in that sort of sense, it's a like I want to do things for myself so that like I don't just do for things for other people, but like I do want people to acknowledge like I am good at battle songs. Like it is nice. It feels nice to do that. I feel like I'm a bit more inclined to want a little bit more subconsciously, while consciously I'm able to be aware. I'm able to bring it to the conscious and be aware of how I want them to be. But
So looking back on the conversation so far, I see a pattern of we're doing this thing until you reach a point of dissatisfaction.
mhm,
And that dissatisfaction, the dissatisfaction tends to come from just the general level of requirement as you progress into the thing.
mm,
Um, to where like when you start taking consistent L's, it's like, okay, well maybe it feels to me like we're not looking at the peaks
mhm,
as peaks, but instead of, oh, I've touched a there's a certain level of negative feedback that you hit at any point in a project or a game that causes you to step away from it and find a new investment sink. Is that
mhm.
fair to say?
I think that that's a
Or
pretty decent, fair thing to say. There's a couple other things that go into it because it's very multifactorial in this sort of situation, but it is very much like that. Um, in a lot of these different circumstances, it isn't always fully like that. So when it comes to drawing, that one was super indicative of that. Of like, I got a good drawing, but then over time, like people who start drawing, like for 3 months were better than my year and a half of drawing. My year and a
mm,
half of doing consistent drawing. And the thing is that like I had certain abilities over them that they didn't have. Um, they obviously like because they were drawing full pictures instead of just doing figure drawing. Like my figure drawing wasn't great. It wasn't the best, but when it comes down to the other people who I assumed were better, it was I was like, why is this person doing so much better than me? And it's because of the fact is that like I'm doing something that I don't like how like because if I want to become a figure draw artist where all I draw is figures, I was doing what I was doing perfect. But because I want to have those full pieces, but I wasn't doing that. It's like no wonder I feel like I'm doing worse because like I'm not even practicing doing what I actually want. I'm doing what I think I need because of what the job security might need. And so a lot of it is the requirements of the outside is what makes it difficult for me. So like requirements of outside or internalized requirements that I don't really care for that actually don't align with my internal state. So with art, it was like the requirements of the outside. If you want to work this job, you have to be good. That didn't align with like the fact that I just want to have for fun and like I did want to work. It'd be cool to work that for a job, but wasn't really the kind of outlet that I really want to do for when it comes to competitive games or playing games competitively. It was that same sort of deal of like I just want to play the game. I like honestly with friends. I didn't really care for playing the game by myself. And but I was like I must get good at the game. I must push myself because outside expectations. Oh, if you look good at the game, people look at you better. But I think the things that are a little bit different from the perspective of why I change certain things now is I think it's hard because of there are bouts of inability that I go through. So let's say Japanese, a very like I don't. It would take me forever just to have an outward appearance of being able to show other people. So it's not really other people. Like I don't need to worry about the outside, but the internal ability comes from a lot of like impatience when it comes to like ADHD. It's like I want to have it now. Like if I dedicate myself, I want to be able to like ADHD of like I want you to prove to me that if I dedicate myself for like 5 hours a day for a year, I can be where I want to be. But because you don't kind of get that, it's hard, and so I lose a lot of traction. But it also comes from the fact that
Right.
I think I have a motivation problem as a physiological problem, not just a my own thought problem. It's more of like and I don't it's not I don't think it's I do. Um the amount of anhedonic episodes, the based on anhedonia that I feel, plus the amount of anhedonic episodes I go through is super indicative of it. The fact that when I was on certain medications, it made it worse is indicative that I already have these problems. And so is what makes it hard about it is that after I abandon something like Japanese, it's hard to get back into it because when you look at the past self and how much you dedicated to it, and then all of a sudden you
It's
fall off.
frustrating.
Yeah, it's frustrating,
No,
and I think
I agree with that fully, bro.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
hi, by the way.
What's up? I didn't even
Oh,
notice you joined.
He's got streamer mode enabled,
I got stream mode, so I
Oh,
can't. Yeah,
okay. Oh, yeah, yeah.
I was
I
gonna.
just
so
wanted to
it
get a
doesn't.
podcast. I was here for the podcast.
Yeah, but
You're in the right place.
you
You're
you
knocking
you
on the right
are
doors.
currently in the right place.
Let's go.
But kind of thinking about it, it's I lost train of thought. It's great.
We love it.
It's funny because like it's fun to lose train of thought sometimes. Because then your mind feels a little bit clear. You kind of get a break from the mind, and but let me think. What was I thinking? What? Completely just blindsided about losing train of thought.
We were thinking about what the barriers are
Oh,
that prevent us from
yeah.
progressing or sticking to something.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question though?
Yeah, what's up?
When I joined, you're like talking about what's it called? You're talking about how like someone you've been drawing for like like 3 or like a year or something, and then
Yeah.
like someone that's been drawing for 3 months and they have like better artistic skill than you.
Yeah.
I think that's subjective though, right?
It really is, and that's kind of like
So, yes, but actually, no. There are certain technical aspects to art that one can anticipate getting faster at, whether it's digital art, whether it's physical media, oil paintings, sketching with charcoal. There are certain fundamentals that should progress at some level or another, whether that is speed to completion of your objective or
I can
fine
make you
tuning of
complete fast.
shading. Oh, I can't believe this.
What?
Sorry.
He's
Uh,
coming
yeah,
on to me on his very professional podcast. And I
exactly.
feel sexually harassed.
I can come on you
Who
in
do
a
I
different way.
report this to?
Me.
I need to speak to your manager.
I can manage you in different ways.
I can't believe this.
But sorry to interrupt you. Continue your stream of thought.
Who? Me
Oh,
or
that
him?
was the full
Oh,
thought.
that's the full thought. I'm gonna continue off a little bit, and then I don't want to interrupt too long. But I was technically, I had better technical. I believe I had better technical skills than him, because my understanding of shape language, my understanding of shadows, my understanding of figures and the way that they exist was better. The thing was is that because I didn't draw complete like I didn't draw complete things. It was all I did was practice at that point in time, and so because all I did was practice, when I see somebody who actually gets s- like somewhere further than just practice, I would notice that like it looked a lot better because like he actually put more effort into it instead of just like I'm gonna spend um 1 minute doing a practice, then 5 minutes doing a practice, then 10 minutes doing a practice. It's like you'd go through practices of like 5 1 minutes, and then there was 3 5 minutes, and then there was like a 10 minute. And so like, we'd increase the time over and over to practice to say, okay, like let's get more detail in, do these other things. So because I would do those practices, I wasn't completing anything, so I wasn't spending like an hour on one thing. I was spending max 30 minutes, and wasn't really finished. It was just oh, I'm done with this practice. I can go into the next practice. I got the shape language. I got the physical looking movement down, but what I remember what he had was a bit more of the a bit more of just the fact that he was actually completing it. He was actually putting more effort. Like where like if I probably sat down and sat like 2 3 hours, I would probably look something like okay. His colors were definitely better, but I also just didn't like colors because I just drew in pen and pencil for a time. But
Mhm.
so
Well,
like
I mean, like, oh, sorry.
no,
Like,
you're good.
keep going.
I'm basically done.
Oh, okay. Like, I feel like, I feel like just because like you like to practice doesn't mean like that. Like someone who wants to do like a full painting doesn't mean they're better than you.
Yeah, not necessarily. I was practicing because I was afraid of being a bum outside of high school, and so in my mind is really funny. In my mind, I envisioned I was going to be practicing art, like kind of like the whole like nerd who does thing during lunch. So I'm going to be practicing his art during my free time, and I'm going to have to be good at art so I can become an animator or an artist so I can get money off of it. And so the reason why I was so dedicated to the practice is not because I love doing the practices. The practices were fun. I definitely enjoyed some of it, but they weren't as enjoyable as completing a full art piece. And that was a problem is that like because I tricked myself into doing so many practices instead of actually have fun, um I ended up hating drawing for so long. Like genuinely I just like ended up hating it. Um like every single time I think about it, it'd make me so upset because of how I didn't progress the way I wanted to, and how something I enjoyed turned into something I was hurt by because of my inability to be good. But
That's fair.
yeah, it's a weird thing when I think about like getting good. I think there is like kind of like going back to the wanting to maximize, wanting to do good, wanting to be good at something. There is just that there's that autism mindset inside of me where I just want that, but there isn't this. But like the ability to be consistent
So
has been a
I'm gonna
struggle.
cut you off there, but like, it's there until you hit the wall. So I guess
Oh yeah,
like
like
from
plateau.
one guy to another who struggles with fulfilling the objective or the dream to satisfaction, right?
Hmm.
Ha ha ha! You can finish me. So I cut you off. That's fine. Whatever. Yeah. But
You
like,
already
how
knew.
do you fight through the suck? How do you fight through the suck to reach the point that is necessary, right? Because like you've talked about for a little while now about how I'm not satisfied with this. The pressure of XYZ is too much. How do you cope with and I understand that that's not entirely within your scope of maintenance,
Hmm.
right? Like it's not necessarily your responsibility on some things. Like, I've heard horror stories of some of your work situations before,
Yeah.
but I guess at what point does something just plain suck and you fight through to get her done?
Um, it's actually really funny because I actually do have an experience of doing that. Some of it was Japanese, which is kind of funny because I'm still inconsistent with that. But a lot of it was also working out. Um, when I first started working out, it was perfectly fine. But then there was like when I go through more depressive episodes, there was times where I would just stop. But I just came back to it, and it wasn't. I think it was the way my mindset was able to like, I hate the when people talk about mindset, but I just thought about working out just being this is what is fun to me, and so I just did what was fun, what was engaging, and so it wasn't just I need to get a certain size. It was like when I didn't work out for sometimes 2 months, there's times when I would work out and like take 2 months off, and I wouldn't be like too happy with it. Sometimes it was because of like depression, school, or whatever. The most recent one was kind of because of work. Um, And so when I would take those times off, like I wouldn't have that pressure of like, oh, you can't get back into it. I just would just time to work out. And a lot of times, like I would obviously be benching less. I would be benching less. I would be repping less. Like I would do the same weights or less weight, and I'd rep less. And it like annoyed me. I was like, ah, dang it. But after a while, I was just like, who cares? Like I'm just here to work out. And this is something that's really good. Dr. K talks about. It's action orientation, where it's just do the action. At a certain point in time, you are not. You can sow the seeds to success, but it does not stop the bird from eating the seed in the ground. And so the way you have to treat life.
That's a good fucking analogy. Holy shit, that's a good analogy.
Thank you, thank you. I like to be
Like,
profound.
I like that a lot, actually.
Thank you. But kind of going back to the idea, a big thing about it is that is I just have to do things, and like it's great to increase the likelihood of things happening. That's what you have to do if you want to get places, is increase likelihood. But it'll never guarantee you places. Um, let's say we can go down streaming for me. I can edit better. I can post as many short form content as possible in as many places as possible. I can increase that likelihood. I can practice becoming more entertaining. I can do these other things. I can clip farm, but that doesn't mean just because I do those actions does not mean it guarantees me the success. Does it mean like the
Right.
likelihood of me getting there is higher? Yes. In some cases it's gonna be a bit more. Some cases it's gonna be a bit less. So some like if I pick up a pencil and I go to drop it, like most cases it's gonna fall and it can hit the ground. But there might be days where it hits the chair and it lands on the chair and it didn't hit the ground or whatever. But like some cases are a little bit more luck based. But when it comes down to it, it's just being able to do the action. Because sometimes things aren't luck based happen all the time. Things that you know if you continue doing, you're gonna do well. And sometimes you just kind of get destroyed. You kind of just lose it. So for me in school, it wasn't luck based. It was if I knew if I sat down into this, I could do it. And sometimes you just couldn't. And so if I step away from the idea of like just the idea of like okay I'm bad at school whatever, it's like hey I did stuff and I'm gonna try to do more stuff. But in that sort of circumstance it's not a um it's just being able to do the actions because like and it's also learning to enjoy the actions themselves. Like this is why whenever someone asks me if they like when they're like hey I want to start working out, do you want to like tell me different things? I'm like, let's figure out what you enjoy. Do you enjoy running? Do you enjoy weightlifting? A big thing that people enjoy is swimming. Um, Swimming's such a big one. It's not the cheapest thing to do for a lot of people. So like gym access, or don't have their own pool. Pools like having your own pool is expensive. Gyms can be expensive, especially gyms with pools. And so it's like finding what you enjoy and so you can continue doing the action. It's such a big thing. It's like, why would somebody like? It's one big reason why I quit League of Legends is that I don't have the conscientiousness. My on the 5 factor personality, I have the conscientiousness to hate the game, hate be upset about my own gameplay, for 1,000 hours until I get good enough to be okay with it. I couldn't do that, and so I'm gonna do what I enjoy. And if I enjoy doing what I'm doing, then I'm gonna be able to do it more and more. And so it's about being able to engage in what you enjoy. And it's about understanding how to expect what you do. So, um, and there's a problem with like I over intellectualize certain things, which is going to lead me to have a skewed point of view. So maybe I am not as aligned with with what I want with some of my thoughts, but I'll kind of explain that is that like when it comes to let's say streaming, I'm not currently studying streamers anymore, which is really funny. I did that for a time, but I'm not currently doing that right now. But I'm still trying to. Right now. I'm practicing my just talking, even though I don't need to practice it. I'd fucking do it anyway. I'm just trying to just continue to talk. Sometimes there's been a couple of times I've been trying to clip form this time where it's like there's things I naturally say. Like I naturally have a thirst for Darman, but like I want to do that so that
Whoa.
maybe like I
I'm
mean
married. I'm married. Leave me alone. I'm married.
you can't stop love Darman.
On the contrary, I can. And I will.
But
My virginity must be protected.
but
At all cost.
at all cost.
You don't understand my wife and I's relationship. Every time I think about sex, I eat a whole raw potato.
Just for the feel.
I feel like I may have dated myself with that one. I promise this is a very real satire video.
This is super real. Yeah. Do you, like I have to defend myself.
Yes, I do
for-
hear myself right now. I understand that I probably sound as schizophrenic as you are autistic.
like you know like
So that's like a level 2 schizophrenia.
a little too schizophrenic. It's past intro to schizophrenia. But like kind of going back to like how I set my expectations is that like my actions, like what am I doing currently to do better? I'm streaming right now. I'm doing clips, and so I can set my expectations to say that hey, my growth is gonna be a bit bigger than it was before, but I can't expect much. Like I think the shorts the shorts I made, the one that got 1,000 views, I was like, oh, that's so cool. But like I kind of have to realize is that like and you said this before, Darman, is like you have to understand sometimes the peaks are peaks. Sometimes you hit this point where you're just vibing and you hit somewhere higher than your average. And so I have to kind of like maintain my expectations, saying, hey, I'm not gonna get 1,000 views per. I'm not gonna probably get 1,000 views per short. I'm probably not gonna get 500 average views per short. I can expect like what the one of them had 90. I could expect probably around that, maybe 50, maybe 90. Who knows?
Well, and more what I was trying to hit earlier was trying to puzzle out and test you on like where the disconnect and where the fall apart happens.
Hmm.
The because it like I hear one thing and then it trails off and then it's like okay, now we're on to another thing, like where is the consistency?
Yeah.
And that's like where I was trying to drive at. And it's like, because like me being your friend, and someday we're gonna go get a beer together.
Hmm.
It's gonna happen. But until then, I'm gonna be cheering you on from one side of the country while you're out there doing your thing. You're doing your streaming, you're playing your games, you're learning your Japanese, you're learning Vietnamese, you're learning Korean.
I'm not learning it. I'm not learning all those languages.
I believe in you. I believe in your ability to do so.
Yeah.
But my belief is tested at times. Tell me, Father, take me to church.
Okay, Thomas. Also, it's gonna be dumb because obviously your name's not Thomas, but that's a good reference though. Like the problem is, I just realized I gave a reference that like the thing is like your name like because Thomas is a name that people have nowadays. So, but the problem is that like I was making a reference. But
Who's Thomas? Who are your other bitches?
Thomas as in the was,
That's
The tank engine?
no Thomas the
Edison.
no Thomas. Well, I can't. Why can't you
I'm
remember
gonna
the
keep
position?
interrupting
In the
you
Bible?
until you hit it.
In the Bible, Thomas.
Oh,
Yeah, he always questioned
doubting
Jesus.
Thomas.
Yeah. Thank you. You know, for me not being religious, I've kind of brought up the Bible a lot. But
I think it's an important book to know.
It-
Like even
it's-
if
it's-
you are not a Christian, I think it's good to know cliff notes.
it has a lot of good points. It has a lot of good. It really is just it's a solid book. Like there are not as many solid books in other places that I can kind of think about. I think that like let's say Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, that's kind of specific. A lot of it doesn't make any sense. Um,
Weirdly specific.
the Bhagavad Gita, a little bit more like I think a lot of people can gain benefit from the teachings of the Buddha. The teachings of a Buddha. Like sure you can skip some of the funnier parts, but like generally like really good insights. But yeah, like when you have like the Bible, it has a lot of good insights. Good, lot of for people who are not religious, so people atheistic or maybe believe in a different religion. It gives them a lot of good kind of like it allows you to think and potentially create a positive um change in your life. But kind of going back to the topic of like how like like you've noticed like how I talked about how I went from drawing to the League of Legends to like Rocket League to Halo um to
Can
Japanese
I
to
go
Battle
back to
Songs.
one of your points
Yeah.
from earlier? So like you said that um like how like you'll like start to do something and then like we mentioned like we kind of hit like a plateau or like a wall and then we just like kind of drop it,
Hmm.
right? Like I low key get that because like I like hit a plateau or something of like something I've been doing and I'm just like I don't care enough to like improve, right?
Yeah.
Is that the same like feeling or is it something else?
So it's that and something else. It's the impatience that I have. So there's a big thing of like when I have the motivation to want to do something, I try to do
Mhm.
everything all at once.
Yep.
Instead of like I'm learning Japanese now, I have to learn Japanese, but also play an instrument, but also also flip battle songs, also draw again, also do these other things. So that's the problem that I start to do is I start to fill up all these different things. I burn myself. That's part of one thing. Another thing that
Hmm.
I do is there is that kind of like skill floor that once you reach a certain level of your ability, the time that it takes to progress out of this like weird wall takes a lot. And it takes changing a mentality. It takes the way that you treat the action itself. You have to treat it differently.
I
So
know,
you had
bro. Cause like I did art and video editing. I
yeah.
get both. So like I understand,
Yeah.
but like I feel like when you hit that plateau, I feel like you just kind of have to like I either like fully commit to like trying to push through it or just like it's like a accept the place where you're at and just be happy with it, you
Yeah,
know?
that's kind of where it does lie. Like that position does lie. I think the problem that I have is that I always have this because I kind of thought about this plateau a lot. I actually used to give it my own words for it, call it the usable skill floor, kind of in a sort of sense, usable skill.
Mhm.
So think about a lot of people in driving. Some people will drive an insane amount, but like, and then some people drive not as much. And you still look at the skill level of like, let's talk about non-professional drivers. These are not people who get paid for it. So whether these are people racing or truck drivers. These are people who just went to driving school, or even like at this point in time, some people are old enough to where they didn't have to go to driving school, whatever. Um, you'll notice that some of these people, like they could have been driving for decades, could have been driving consistently a lot for decades, but because of the fact that they didn't try to improve, um, they just kind of hit that skill usable like floor of like they just don't really care. And oftentimes I don't think about it. People don't think about like I need to get better at like driving because I suck ass. Like unless you're constantly getting car crashes, even then at that point in time they don't usually even try to improve at that point in time. They just like usually people step away, but like people aren't trying to improve.
Mhm.
And so for me, I noticed that for a while, and I would kind of like think about it because like happens in a lot of video games. Most like a lot of people in video games, they'll reach their peak within months of playing the game consistently. They will not get much better after that.
Yeah.
Like if they play the game for like 6 months consistently, they're gonna hit their peak of skill and ability. They might improve small places where it's that may make a difference, but most people don't progress past that. So there is that sort of sense of where you do have to just kind of like buckle down and accept your fate of like this is gonna suck. This is just gonna suck because like when you first start learning a thing, your understanding goes so heavy, like not heavy, so it goes so hard. So take like drawing. When it goes from just like when it goes from I wanted to paint a picture to its shapes and colors, shape language. So a person is a bunch of different shapes together. It's how do I visualize those shapes in my mind and how can I put those on the paper? and that translation. Like before, it was just I want to draw, I want to make pretty person, I want to make pretty anime woman, and then it goes into oh, pretty anime woman is connected of shapes. So as soon as I put those shapes down, I'm able to make pretty anime women more consistently than before, and so that improvement, once you get there, like as soon as you get to that like skill floor where it's like as soon as you hit the part where you aren't learning too much more, the progression feels a lot slower.
Mhm.
But that is kind of a part that happens. I think that you're talking about like it happens a lot, and it happens to me too, to where when it comes to some of these games, when it came to Rocket League, I would actually push past it. I would dedicate myself more. I hit gold, and then I was getting a little bit higher than gold, and then I was getting a little tired, and I was like, I'm gonna push past it a little bit more. I pushed it past to a certain extent, but I didn't fully dedicate myself to it. I was still more dedicated than just accepting my position. I was still wanting to get better. Something happened in Halo is that like I reached my peak of like low plat for a time. Mainly because I
Mhm.
just was just messing around. Like I was not paying the game too much of attention. I was just messing around. Hit plat, and I was like, you know what? Let me try to get more dedicated. I didn't do it for that long, but like I think it's also because it's a time sink, and it's also like understanding what you actually want. Like I wanted the praise, so why did I not stay consistent in League of Legends and some of these other things? Is I wanted the praise of being good. I wanted the praise of doing well. I want to feel
Oh,
useful.
of
I want to
course.
feel good, and I
Yeah.
quit because I don't actually care. Like when it comes to Japanese working out, and even streaming, like I haven't been consistent streaming, but I'm still like, fuck it, I'm coming back because like this is something that like I like will I get a job with this? Who fucking knows? But is this shit kind of fun? Is it fun to kind of like sit down and just yap, and then all of a sudden you look at the time, being like it's been like 1 hour 49 minutes. Yeah, it's kind of fun to be like, well, I've been sitting here like when I streamed by myself to nobody. There's a time where I looked at the time, I'm like, I've been talking to myself for 3 fucking hours straight, like nobody in here. 3 hours straight, and it's kind of fun to be like I could just be background noise. I can like it's not necessarily the best thing in the world, but it's like man, it's kind of fun. Um, doing the editing, I think it's fun to be like, oh, that's a clip that I think that the clips I did. One of the 4 clips was about like mental disorders, and you were there for that part of the
Mhm.
conversation where I said that like when people treat you less disabled than you really are, um, you assume that you are abled, and so you blame you, not your disabilities, and so I'm lazy, I'm whatever. So that clip actually did fairly well. It was my second best clip. It started to do better than the first best clip, but then the first best clip I think is more consistent, more funny. But it was insightful to the point where I think it was useful, and so I think it emotionally resonates with people. But in that
Yeah.
sort of sense, like having those clips,
For
like being able to sit down and be like, oh, I think I think that's entertaining, or I think that's insightful. I think like getting those parts and just putting them into the public is fun. So getting those actions done. But thanks for watching, and remember, I kiss men for the love of the sport.